Well, it's me again, and this is my podcast, And My World, where I take you along on an adventure where we get to explore everything and anything that goes on in my mind. Oh boy, is it random, is it crazy, it's nuts, it's all over the place. So grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's have a good time. Good morning, my friends. I hope everybody is doing good. I hope you all are doing healthy. Well, you are healthy and happy, and I hope you are doing wonderful. Welcome once again to my podcast. This is number 37. 37! Oh man, it's like never ending. It's just going and going and going and going and going. So yeah, they keep going and they're going, and I plan on not stopping. I do plan on changing some of my discussions and my content a little bit more nonpartisan. So that's kind of my goal, is to be a little bit more nonpartisan as far as the politics aspect goes. I don't know if I'm actually, offending anybody or saying things that are making anybody upset or anything like that, which is not my situation, not my case. I don't think. I don't plan on it. It's not my goal. It's not my thing. But I am, like I keep saying, I'm an open book. If something's going on and it's on my mind, I'm going to talk about it. And this right now happens to be on my mind. I am a non-politically correct person for the most part. I think in a certain way, and then that's just the way it is, and I'm not going to apologize for it. So, done over that. Moving forward with the show today. The last episode I talked about, selling my car to my brother, and it's still something that's really on my mind and really thinking about doing. But just the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's just be mindful. It's a car. It'll be a car for right now for you, because I don't know. I just don't. I don't see him being the kind of guy that cares enough about a vehicle to make it last and to continue to put repairs into it, even though the thing's paid off. Which is something that I'm a strong believer in, is holding on to something because it's paid off. If the vehicle is paid off, you hold on to it. And you let it nickel and dime you, as most people say. And the reason you let it do that is because usually, overall, it's cheaper than it is if you had to make a $300 payment a month. I mean, you can go 6 months, have nothing wrong with it, and all of a sudden have to drop, $5,000-$6,000 into it. And at that moment, you think, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. This is ridiculous. However, if you get another 6 months out of it, or a year out of it, without having to put even more money into it like that, and then you divide it by how many months you've not had to make a payment, most of the time it balances out. And what's nice about an older car, especially one that you've had for a long time, is all of its funny things. Everything that either goes wrong with it, its attitude, what needs to be replaced or repaired soon, and you can kind of budget for it. Okay, well, I have my suspension starting to go, and I haven't had my front end done, and looks like this is starting to happen. You can just kind of plan for it and maybe get it done before something breaks, and nip it out beforehand. That way, when you're out of a vehicle, it's on your time and it's planned, instead of being out of a vehicle suddenly and then all of a sudden you have to find transportation while your vehicle's in the shop. And then it always seems like it takes longer because it's not planned. It's not the forethought of starting and doing it beforehand. Then there's always things that just pop up that you weren't expecting, but it happens. It is what it is. But I honestly, my opinion is I'd rather have no car payment and be able to do a little here, a little there, and yeah, I think you save money over the long haul, to be honest with you. That's just kind of my thought process. And a lot of people, they're not going to spend $6,000 to fix something. Usually, for the most part, it's going to be $500 or $600. Well, if you only spend $600 a year, let's break that apart. What's that, $50 a month? Where are you going to get a decent car for $50 a month? You're not. And older cars is also the direction I go. I like the older cars because they're simpler. When you start getting all the electronics and all the computers and all the gadgets and the butt warmers and the electric mirrors and all that stuff, electric windows, they end up breaking and then they cost you more to have fixed. Where, like for instance, a window that requires a crank, it's a lot cheaper. You're looking at a couple of pieces of metal and you can fix it usually yourself. It's usually not something insanely crazy. But then, same with, fixing stuff yourself. With a new car, it's quite difficult sometimes to, change spark plugs for that matter, because there's tight spaces underneath the engine compartment. There's a lot, they just cram everything in and there's very little clearance. Where a vehicle, say like my truck, I've got an 84 F-150, I can pretty much crawl into my engine compartment. Everything is right there out in the open. Nothing is hidden behind anything else. Three people could probably sit inside the engine compartment with the frickin' hood closed. That's just how much space there is. They made vehicles a lot different back then. And, my truck, it's easy as heck to fix. It's easy to replace. Parts, I had a fuel pump that went out, and it was 2 bolts and a couple of metal tubes. I just had to unscrew them. I pulled the fuel pump out, put the new one back in right up against the side of the engine there, bolted it in, and screwed the 2 pipes ends back on, and voila, I was up and running again. So things are a lot simpler. On the newer vehicles, fuel pumps are usually electric, and they are either on a side rail if you're lucky, or if you're not lucky, they're shoved up somewhere. They could even be inside the gas tank. So some of them are just in such strange places, and just tight. It's difficult to work on some of that stuff. So you just gotta be mindful. If you're gonna buy a vehicle, you gotta think about a lot of different things, not just, ooh, it's pretty, and ooh, I deserve a new car. Well, okay, you deserve a new car. Sure. You deserve a vehicle that no one's ever driven before. Okay, if you feel that way. I think I've had about 14 or 15 cars in my life. I've never once ever had a brand spanking new car. And yeah, it would be nice to have a new car, but then I start thinking like an adult, and I realize, well, $400 a month car payments, that doesn't make any sense. And then cost repairs. The vehicle hasn't been on the market very long. So if something was to break within that first year or two, okay, maybe it's covered by warranty. But as soon as that warranty is over, now those parts are more expensive. And you got to pay out of pocket for a lot of that. And I don't know. It seems to be kind of crazy. I know with my Ford truck, my Ford truck, it is a Ford. My truck, the windshield is, I think $160, and then labor, rounds it out to just about $200. But if you put a a new windshield in a 2016 or 2015 even Ford truck, you're looking at about $400 to $500. So, the extra cost comes with it. It depends on what state you live in too. Newer vehicles, sometimes in some states, you're going to pay a lot more money for the new vehicle for tabs and licensing and that kind of stuff because the cost of the vehicle is so high. But if you get a older vehicle where it's like about $6,000 to $8,000 or even under, the cost will be a lot lower because the value is lower. So there's lots and lots of different things, lots of different factors to factor in when it comes to vehicles. I'm not a big advocate of buying a new vehicle. It's just not my thing. But I do like the idea of having something different every now and again. That's why I have the vehicles I do, is because I can trade them out. I get bored of driving one every single day, and so I want to drive something different. It's like wearing a pair of shoes. You have your favorite pair of shoes, but every now and again you want to put on a pair of dress shoes, or you want to change it up a little bit. And so it's nice to have an extra vehicle. And also with an extra vehicle is, so if you have, instead of buying one car, you have two cars, which you can afford if you don't buy a brand new car, usually. If something was to break on your everyday driver, you have a backup vehicle. So while one vehicle's in the shop being repaired, you can drive the other one, which, in my opinion is a must, especially if you own an older vehicle. Having two older vehicles is way better than one for reliability, because when you do buy an older vehicle, let's be honest, you end up having to sacrifice a little bit of reliability. A brand new vehicle usually has almost 100% reliability. You almost, matter of fact, you never even think about it. Hey, let's take a road trip. All right, let's jump in the brand new vehicle and let's go on a road trip. You almost think, it'll never break down. It's a brand new vehicle. It's got less than 10,000 miles on it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just going to drive. It's great. It's brand new. But in an older vehicle, you're looking at 150, 200, 300 miles on it. The more you drive it, the more you know something is about to break or is going to break on it. So you have the reliability factor go down. So that is a negative. But hopefully you have the cost savings in that whole process. They kind of all balance each other out. It just depends on what you want to give and take. I have a friend of mine that lives down in California. She has a minivan that she very rarely ever uses, but when she does, she wants the reliability of it. And she is willing to save up the money and to have it repaired whenever it breaks down, and it works for her. And I say, absolutely awesome, and that's kind of my mindset as well. You have an older vehicle, you put away the money and just in case something breaks down, and when it does, you're prepared. So a lot of different things. I have a brother-in-law. I love him to death, but he absolutely refuses to put his wife in a second-hand vehicle. She's on her third car now. Not because she buys them and then they decide they don't want them or they break them. They lease their vehicle. They lease them at a 1-year interval, and so every year they go and get a brand new vehicle. I don't see the point in that. I think the value of the vehicle doesn't really start to accumulate and make sense, literally, until it's paid off. Once the vehicle's paid off, you're basically putting money in your pocket from that day forward. But when you lease a vehicle, you're never going to pay it off. It's always going to be purchased. You're always making a payment. So, yeah, a bunch of little things to think about and to put through your mind. So I hope some of this helped you out a little bit. Just a bunch of random things that were on my mind about vehicles. I've had my fair share of vehicles, and maybe someday soon I will tell you which ones were my favorite. Like I said, I've had a few. So, yeah. But those are some things to think about. When you are looking for a used vehicle, if you decide to buy everyone knows where to go to get a brand new vehicle, but to buy a used vehicle, a good used vehicle, there's a few different things that you can do to ensure that you get a good one. Hopefully without paying too much money. Now you can always go to a dealer and make sure that you go to a dealer that does a full physical on that vehicle. It does a good super fine inspection, with over 200 plus things that it takes a look at. And also make sure when you buy your vehicle, you get a Carfax. The technology is here now. We can trace these vehicles. We know where they've been, what they've done, and if they've ever been in a shop and repaired, if they've been in accidents or whatever. Don't ever just take the person's word for it when you buy it. Get the Carfax. It doesn't lie. It might have a mistake on it, but it doesn't lie. So make sure that you do that. That's definitely something worth taking a look at. A dealer is a good way to go, especially one that is a big dealer and they have a mechanic crew that goes through and looks at everything. But don't underestimate the private seller either. With a private seller, it's actually quite easy to get the Carfax. You just have to go online and do it yourself and possibly pay out of pocket, but you can still get that information. They can also tell you a little bit more about the history of the vehicle usually as well, that a dealer can't, or the Carfax can't. Things that don't really matter but are kind of nice to know. For instance, if the car belonged to a family member, if the car's done a lot of highway miles. And that's the other thing too, is sometimes they will say anything to get you to buy that car. So they'll say, it'd be a nice looking car. It's in really good shape. It looks like it's just been detailed. They'll tell you it was grandma's car and it parked in the garage its entire life. And she very rarely ever drove it. And when she did, it was on long trips and a lot of highway miles, but not a whole lot of in town. They will say stuff like that all the time. So just be mindful and take a lot of that with a grain of salt. Look at it yourself. Take it for a test drive before you give any cash. And when you do, you want to take it to some place, a mechanic or someone, which you go and find first before you go looking for a car. Let them know what you're doing and that you want to bring them a vehicle or two to have them do an inspection on it. And do the inspection on the vehicle on your own dime. Pay out of pocket. $150 is not a big deal to have an inspection done on a vehicle. A lot of places will do it, and a lot of places will do it for free. But if you don't trust the people that are doing the inspection completely, take it to two people, two different mechanics, and see if their opinions match, if they think it's a good car, and have them write down also anything that looks like it could be replaced soon or might need work done to it. That way you have a little bit of an idea of what's going on with the vehicle, and also get a reference on how much that work might cost. Honestly, when it comes to buying something, anything, not just a vehicle, but anything, research is a big factor in saving money. Know what you're doing. Get the information. The information leads you on to, getting a better deal. So anyways, like I said, I hope some of this came and helped you out. Y'all have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. And of course, like always, until next time, bye for now.
This has been a Graham's World broadcast brought to you directly from Graham's mind. So stay tuned because there's more to come.